Welcome to Issues That Matter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. My guest today is Scott Ritter. And Scott and I haven't done an interview in a while because I had a little medical mishap this winter, but I'm okay now. And Scott and I are going to talk about how close are we to a nuclear holocaust from your perspective between the Middle East and the Ukraine. We're pretty skating on pretty thin ice, wouldn't you say?
I think the Middle East actually has stabilized considerably. The Iranian attack against Israel, um, I think, confronted the Israelis with the reality that they aren't invincible and that they are vulnerable. Um, and their measured response, which allowed the potential of a broader conflict to level off and go away, I think has taken the tension down a bit. Now we have the horror of the genocide in Gaza, but that was never in and of itself going to turn into a nuclear conflict. So, from a strategic overview, I think the Middle East has calmed down considerably. I'm not as worried as I was. Had the Israelis chosen to continue escalation, um, then there could have been a problem because if Iran it strikes Israel with the totality of its conventional might, Israel might feel that its existential survival is at stake and then execute what they call the Samson option, which is to fire nuclear weapons to bring everybody down. So I think we're past that. I think Israel and Iran have de-escalated that. In in Europe, we definitely have a a growing threat. The NATO, the European Union, the United States are all having to come to grips with the reality that Russia is not only winning this war, but has won this war, and that there's nothing they can do to stop this. And the Russian victory is manifesting itself, um, you know, even more every day. Francois Emmanuel Macron, France's president, has said that if the Ukrainian army collapses and the Russian army makes big advances, that he may send French troops into the front lines to confront Russia, which will result in nothing but dead French troops. But you've had French generals saying, we remind Russia that we are a nuclear power. We have 200 nuclear weapons. And the Russians are like, well, we got thousands. I mean, if you want to get into that game, then France will disappear. But then so would NATO, so would Russia, so would the United States. So we have a situation where France is holding us all hostage with irresponsible rhetoric. And to have the French posturing, to have Poland saying they would like NATO nuclear weapons stored on their soil, all this does is feed, you know, a group of Russian strategic thinkers who have given up on arms control, given up on peaceful relations, and who have embraced the notion that Russia is indeed in an existential conflict with the West. And so now they're talking about changing Russia's nuclear posture so that Russia can carry out preemptive nuclear strikes under the belief that if France is threatening Russia with nuclear weapons, why does Russia have to wait? Why doesn't Russia go ahead and take the French out, take everybody else out first? And so this is a dialogue that's taking place in Russia. So it's very dangerous because um, the space between irresponsible rhetoric and devastating reality is becoming narrower and narrower. And I am worried about this because there's one thing for certain: Russia is going to win this war this summer. And when I say win, I mean we're talking total victory, a humiliating defeat for the West, for NATO, for the elimination of Ukraine as a nation state. Um, how the West responds to this is very critical in determining whether or not you know this can be a crisis that can be de-escalated, like Iran and Israel managed to do, or is this a crisis that will enter into a cycle of escalation that has as its inevitable result nuclear conflict?
So there's been demonstrations on college campuses throughout the country. There was hardly any movement as far as a demonstration for with the war in Ukraine. So I think the focus seems to be on the Middle East right now. Do you think it's overblown?
Well, I don't think that genocide is overblown, and
Okay.
Israel is committing genocide in Gaza. So I think that um, the protesters have every right. Indeed, they have a moral responsibility and duty to protest against what Israel is doing to the people of Palestine and America's complicity in this genocide. My I guess my only frustration at this is while I agree that we must rise up and protest against an active, ongoing genocide by Israel in Gaza. Where are the voices when it comes time to standing up and trying to preempt irresponsible policy that could lead to nuclear annihilation? Because if we have a nuclear war, it makes what Israel's doing in Gaza pale in comparison because
Yeah.
everybody will be dead. But we can't get anybody on the streets. We can't get any where the students coming out and protesting against nuclear war, protesting against what's going on in Europe. Maybe this is the awakening. Maybe the students now having woken up about Israel and Gaza will find a way to once the situation is resolved to continue their voices and continue their protests and try to wake the nation and the world up to the dangers of nuclear war. But right now, uh, it I can talk till I'm blue in the face, and the fact of the matter is, I have been talking till I'm blue in the face, and the message doesn't resonate because I don't believe the American people fear nuclear weapons anymore. They don't view them as a reality. I mean, one of the more interesting when you go online, you get a lot of weird, weird, uh, you know, viewpoints. And one that is picking up more and more is there's people who say, well, nuclear weapons aren't real. It's just a scam. It's fake. That it's just a way of nations trying to fool the people, the masses into submitting, but that there's no real nuclear weapons. And I'm like, well, they are real. They exist, and they could very well be used. But I just think people have become indifferent to them because we we told everybody that we had solved that problem back in the 1980s and 1990s. We told the American people, you don't have to worry about this anymore. And now, because of the insanity of our own policies, um, the American people aren't aware and of the threat. And even when you put the facts in front of them, it doesn't resonate. They're not afraid of it. And one of the problems is because we're dealing with theoretical. Um, Gaza, you can generate a lot of anger in Gaza just simply by showing the video evidence of Israeli crimes. Um, but how do I convince you to be afraid of nuclear weapons? I pull out old video clips of nuclear weapons testing. I show you black and white images from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Everybody says, "Well, that's old history." We've reduced our nuclear arsenals. We have arms control agreements. We don't need to worry about this anymore. And it's very difficult to get them afraid because I can't show a video of a city destroyed by nuclear weapons that will resonate with people where that they can identify with. And by the time I can show them that video, it's too late.
You use the word fear, and on the mainstream media, particularly MSNBC, and in conversations with friends, the overall thinking is, I fear a second Trump presidency. They're more afraid of Trump getting back in than they are of being evaporated in a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah, it's I you know I can't say that I'm applauding the notion of a new Trump presidency. I think he had a lot of missed opportunities the first time around. I think he shows a disregard for constitutional principles and constitutional law. Um, but he's not the first president that has done this. He just does it in your face. He's more honest about um, his authoritarian, you leanings. But let's look what's happening under the Biden administration. The House of Representatives just passed a law that makes criticizing Israel illegal. So, Cynthia, I just want to make it clear that I condemn Zionism. I believe that AIPAC is a treasonous organization. I think that you cannot have dual loyalties. And I'll continue to break the law saying these things as long as I can. I hope I don't get you thrown off of YouTube, but so be it. Um, and I'll tell you why this needs to be said by everybody. The First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America says that Congress shall pass no laws that infringe on free speech. Congress just passed a law that literally infringes on free speech. The Supreme Court of the United States has made it clear that hateful speech is free speech. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me. I can say that Zionism is evil, and you can scream in my face how wrong I am. You are wrong, Scott. You are evil. You're the problem. But the beauty of it is, under the First Amendment, I have a right to say it. You have a right to say it. We have the right to express ourselves. Um, Congress has literally just passed a law that is, in every way, shape, and form, unconstitutional. And the President of the United States is silent. The Senate is silent. The people are silent. This is the problem. Don't fear a Trump presidency. Fear a Biden presidency. Fear what's happening to this country right now. Fear yourselves. Look in the mirror and be afraid, because what you see staring back is the most dangerous thing to America, an indifferent, ignorant citizenry. We are supposed to be better than this. We are supposed to be empowered with knowledge and information. We are supposed to be driven by the values and principles that define who we are collectively, that are enshrined in the Constitution. And yet we are sitting there deaf, dumb, and silent as the United States Congress passes a law that violates our First Amendment rights of freedom and speech. I condemn Israel wholeheartedly. I link Israel to Zionism. I can go on and say things that you can disagree with me,
Mhm.
but you can't silence me. And Congress is trying to silence me, which makes Congress un American. You see what's happening here? America is becoming an Orwellian expression of itself, where good is evil, where evil is good, where freedom is slavery. We don't know what we stand for anymore. Therefore, we stand for the exact opposite of what we should stand for. That's
Mhm.
what we should fear.
Mhm. So do you do you fear the next few months? How do you feel about everything that's going on?
I personally don't fear the next few months because on June 1st, I leave for Russia for 45 days, where I'm going to do my damnedest to repair relations between the United States and Russia and create um, lasting friendships, lasting relationships that expand beyond my singular scope and start to bring in cities across America, linking up with cities across Russia, um, and beginning this dialogue. So I'm embracing the next couple of months, but it's sort of an escapism on my part because in diving into this, I will be unplugging from the rest of the world. And maybe I need that too. Maybe it's not just a good idea to go in and try and repair relations between the United States and Russia, but for my own mental health, it's probably good to get unplugged from what's going on in the world today because it's bad everywhere. I mean, Ukraine is a disaster, and yet we haven't learned anything from our Ukrainian debacle. And we're now seeking to carry out a coup d'etat in the Republic of Georgia, my wife's homeland. The United States is behind this ongoing Maidan-like uprising that's taking place in the Georgian capital that could very well lead to violence. And if the current Georgian government is successfully overthrown by the United States, will definitely lead to a war with Russia. a war that will destroy Georgia, a war that will destroy the Caucasus. What it won't do is destroy Russia. But the United States doesn't care. Our job isn't to care for the Georgian people or the Ukrainian people or any people. We just want to bring harm to Russia, and we're willing to sacrifice a beautiful small nation of 3.5 million people to achieve our, the goal again of not defeating Russia because we can't defeat Russia, of harassing Russia. We're going to sacrifice 3.5 million people to harass Russia.
So, when I originally contacted you a number of years ago, I remember you being on Phil Donahue's show, like I had said before, and you were the only voice that said there were no weapons of mass destruction. And I admired you for that, and I still do. But given the situation we're in now, you're you're a voice crying in the wilderness. Nobody's embracing what you're saying in the upper levels of government. Um, and they do so at their own detriment, wouldn't you say?
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you about here in the United States, except to point out the following. Um, they listen to me in Russia. They listen to me in Iran. They listen to me in Lebanon. They listen to me in Brazil. They listen to me in South Africa. They listen to me in parts of Europe that people don't want me to be listened to. They listen to me in Australia. They listen to me in Malaysia. They listen to me in Vietnam. They listen to me in India. Um, when we talk about the cause of peace, it's not, America isn't the center of the universe. The world doesn't revolve around America. There's a big world out there. And it's imperative that Americans who are in a position to do so try to paint the United States in as positive a light accurately as possible to show people that there are Americans who care, that Americans are capable of rational thought, and that there is hope that one day America will learn to peacefully coexist with the rest of the world in accordance with rules that aren't written in America. Um, so I'm empowered by this. I have to tell you, in the last 6 months, the amount of outreach that's come in from around the world to me is empowering. In the United States, if I focus solely on the United States, I guess you could get depressed because, as you said, I might as well just go up to Thatcher Park and look over the valley and scream out and for all the good that my speaking in America does. But there's a big world out there, and there's billions of people out there who are listening, who are supportive of the words I'm saying, and who have told me over and over again that by me speaking out, um, I not only empower them, but I give them hope because otherwise they are conditioned to hate America, to hate Americans. And by me speaking out, they say there's hope that at least some in America get it, and maybe in the future more Americans can get it. So, I once told Americans that if you met me on the street, shake my hand and buy me a beer because me and other weapons inspectors saved your asses from nuclear holocaust through our work in nuclear disarmament, the INF Treaty. Um, I'll say the same thing again right now. All you people out there who ignore me, spit at me, all that, shake my hand and buy me a beer because I'm saving your asses. I'm the only one right now out there, me and a handful of others, that are convincing the world not to turn on you, not to dump you down the toilet of life. Because America right now, as it currently exists, deserves to be flushed down the toilet of life. But there are some Americans, including myself, including you, who are speaking out and being heard by the rest of the world. And we're saving America. So I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I don't need the praise of my fellow citizens to make what I'm saying relevant. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. And while I would like this message to resonate greatly here in my own homeland, I'm satisfied that for the minute it is resonating abroad, and that's no small accomplishment.
But all of those countries that you just outlined, they're not going to write a letter to Biden and say, hey, Scott Ritter's a good guy. Why don't you listen to him? Right?
But I don't want them to, because Cynthia,
Okay.
this isn't about me. What it does do is they I empower them to hold their own governments accountable and take a stronger line. You see, I don't want the government of India to kiss up to Joe Biden. I want the government of India to stand up and say no, to put America in its place. I want India to join BRICS and for BRICS to become a meaningful counterweight to the G7. I want multipolarity to break out. And by speaking out in this way, by giving knowledge and information to people, I empower them to hold their governments accountable, and people in their governments are listening. I don't want any credit for any of this. Like I said, shake my hand, buy me a beer. That's all I need. But this interaction is empowering the world to view America in a different light, and hopefully not to call Joe Biden and try and appease him, but to stand up to Joe Biden and say, no, we won't do that. No, we're not going to play that game. No, the world isn't rotating around America. The universe is bigger than America. We're included in the universe. Joe Biden, why aren't you talking about India in the Security Council? Joe Biden, why aren't you? That's what I want. And that's what's happening. And I'm part of that process, and I'm proud of that.
So, getting back to my original question, are we closer to a nuclear war than when the invasion of Ukraine first started?
Absolutely. And we're probably going to get even closer and closer and closer. Unfortunately, we're at that stage right now where um, this isn't going to change until people become afraid. And so there's going to have to be a day when every American wakes up sweating, staring at the television screen, scared to death about the speech the president's about to give because of a conflict in Europe and whether or not the president's going to order a nuclear destruction. And suddenly, at that point in time, people will gather their family together and hold them and talk to them and look at them for perhaps the last time. And they'll be sweating, they'll be crying, they'll be sick because they suddenly woke up to the reality that the world's about to end and there's nothing they can do about it. And then maybe a miracle will happen and we avoid that nuclear conflict. And they wake up the next morning and they go, holy cow, we never want that to happen again. You see, I had that happen twice in Germany. I had my family called together because we thought the world was going to end. We thought there was going to be a nuclear attack on the nuclear weapons storage facility. We were convinced we weren't going to live till tomorrow. That's why I'm scared. I'm scared of nuclear weapons and I'm scared of nuclear war. And that's why I fight so hard to stop it. But all my fellow citizens out there, they're not scared. So the only way we're going to get past that is to scare them to death. But the danger is there's about an 80% chance if we get to that point, they're going to die. What can
Hmm.
you do, Cynthia? I'm tired of trying to tell people to do the right thing anymore because they don't listen, they don't care, it doesn't resonate. So I'm at the point right now where this is going to be put on automatic pilot and we will get to where we're going to get. But I'm telling everybody in your audience right now, there will come a point in the future where you're going to be sitting there scared to death, sweating, puking, crying. And you're going to be saying, my God, we could have stopped this had we done something earlier, but now we haven't, and it's going to end. We're waiting for a lunatic president to come on the TV and tell us how he is going to save the world by launching nuclear weapons. And then you need to pray that he doesn't. You need to pray that he's going to get on the TV and say, like John F. Kennedy said, I have ordered the ships to turn around. I have called off the airplanes. We have agreed to withdraw missiles from Cuba, and we're going to withdraw missiles from Turkey, and we're going to save the world. There's not too many people today who are alive and can remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, remember what it was like to
I was
sit there.
there,
Yeah, well, you know how scared you were. You know how
right?
scared America was. There was a period of time in October 1962 where Americans thought it was all over. It was going to end. They were waiting by the TV, by the radio to hear the president tell them that they were launching nuclear weapons against the Soviets and the Soviets were launching nuclear weapons against us. And a miracle happened and they resolved it. And then Americans were like, we need to get into disarmament. We need to start this disarmament thing. And it led to a path. We today, unfortunately, we got to scare the Americans because nothing, me talking about it doesn't scare anybody. Oppenheimer didn't scare anybody. Um, there's nothing out there. What they need is real visceral fear. And unfortunately, that can only happen when the real visceral fear is derived from reality. When they are waiting for Donald Trump to stand before them and bring fire and fury because he doesn't back down to anybody. And we told those North Koreans not to do this, and now we're going to do something about it. And then the North Korean missiles fly and hit American cities. And then America's plan comes in and we hit China because we blame China for North Korea. But as we hit China, the Russians misconstrue that to come to them. So they fire everything at us and we all die that quick, Cynthia, because that's what will happen. Or it could be, Joe Biden, who forgets his speech as he's speaking,
Right.
drools, falls down, accidentally hits the button, and fires all the missiles because he's just brain dead. Whomever we put in there, we only elect narcissists as presidents. And so when you have narcissistic personality disorder commanding the most powerful nuclear arsenal in the world, be afraid, be very afraid. I keep telling the American people, get rid of these damn weapons. Get rid of these damn weapons so that we don't have to be held hostage by lunatics whom we elect to higher office. But you don't listen to me. You don't listen to anybody. So you're going to get scared. And I pray that some sort of sanity prevails, that maybe the person on the other end makes a phone call and says, we will de escalate to save the world. But at that point in time, if you don't wake up from that nightmare and say, right now, get rid of these weapons, then you deserve it to happen again. And it's like playing Russian roulette with a six-chambered pistol with 5 bullets in it. You may get lucky the first time. You may get lucky the second time, but eventually it's going to blow your brains out. And that's what we're playing right now, nuclear roulette.
Um, the Congress voted for more appropriations for the Middle East and the Ukraine. The one vocal opponent was Marjorie Taylor Greene, and they're portraying Marjorie Taylor Greene as a kook, but she's the only person that's out there stating this is not the right way to go.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and defend everything Marjorie Taylor Greene does. She is the elected representative of a district in the state of Georgia, and those people seem to be happy with how she represents them. On this issue, she's 100% correct. She's 100% correct. Why are we sending $61 billion or expending $61 billion in Ukraine's name? Now, I know some Americans like to say, well, 48 billion of that's coming back to American defense industry. It's not really about Ukraine. Wow. So you needed the United States to continue a war that's going to kill hundreds of thousands more Ukrainians so that we could pour $48 billion back into our economy. And you're proud of this. You're happy with this. Don't you understand that that makes you um, complicit in the murders of these Ukrainians that are going to die? That makes you the epitome of evil because you are evil. If you're saying that in order for our economy to function, we must have a war that sacrifices hundreds of thousands of other people, that makes America the definition of evil. We are an evil nation. We are a cancer that consumes the world. In order for us to thrive, we literally have to consume the world. In order for our defense industries to make money, we need to promote conflict that consumes the world. Do you not understand how bad that makes us look? Marjorie Taylor Greene is correct. Everybody who's supported for that money is wrong.
Mhm.
It's that easy.
So, what's on your agenda? You're going to Russia in June, and you'll finish filming in Russia in June.
Yeah, this what I've the approach I've taken is I went to Russia the first time last year in May, and from that, the concept of making a movie, waging peace, um, was developed. Um, and the delay in getting the money and such, suddenly a second trip to Russia occurred. That I said, well, this will flesh out the initial visit because it was about examining the spirituality of Russia. Um, but from that, we decided that well, I'll give you an example. After I came back from that second trip, Tucker Carlson went and had an interview with Vladimir Putin, and one of the many critiques of Tucker for that interview was that he's singing the praises of Russia, but he's doing so in Moscow, and people were like, Moscow's different. There's a real Russia out there that's horrible, that's bad, it's awful. You're faking everybody out by speaking only about Moscow. And I said, well, what if I went to Russia and visited it from the Pacific Ocean to the Baltic Sea and everything in between, and showed America what the real Russia was from all the cities in between. And so that's what I'm doing. Um, we're going to spend 45 days in Russia, and we are going to go to the Pacific Ocean. We're going to finish up in the Baltic Sea, and we're going to about 16 places in between, and places that many Americans will never have heard of. And we're going to introduce Russia to America. And in the process, we are developing something called it's a variation of the pin pals. It's video pin pals, but we're going to places in Russia where they don't have internet service, so we're bringing a mobile studio. It may be using Elon Musk's Starlink technology. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this yet, but we're going to go there. But we're reaching out to peace groups across the country, um, and we're um, going to get them to identify people who would like to become video pen pals with Russians. And so each city we go to, we're going to ask Russians to sign up if they want to join, and then we'll pick one, and right there, live on TV, we're going to facilitate a phone call and let them talk to each other and say hi. And we're going to do that in each place we go. And then when we leave behind a network of people who are already starting to talk. And then we hope that they expand that it's not just individuals, but becomes communities talking to each other. And we're going to create this network of goodwill. And that's what we're going to try and do. Sprinkle the seeds like Johnny Appleseed, going around throwing out seeds of friendship throughout Russia, and get them to talk to the Americans. And so it's a great project, but it sort of brings to fruition the first visit was about the potential of friendship. This trip is about the reality of friendship, and so we're going to make a movie that encapsulates all three trips into one single thing. So it's waging peace is still the concept, but it's going to be a broader film than originally envisioned.
And it'll be streamed.
Well, our goal right now is well, we originally I was thinking about doing the traditional hour and a half documentary that would be submitted to film festivals and all that. I did that once with a great movie, In Shifting Sands, about the Iraq War. Um, Tens of thousands of people saw it, and that's it. That's all you get to see it when you go to film festivals. Um, but if we, I did two short quasi documentaries on Zelensky, Agent Zelensky, part one and part two. Millions of people saw that because I streamed it online. And so we're going to do a three-part series that can be shown both online streaming, but we can combine them. They're going to be constructed in a way that they can be combined and shown as a singular film at a film festival. We limit our ability to get into some film festivals by putting it online. I don't care, but other film festivals, I think, maybe would accept it not as a competitor, but as a film of interest, and we can get it out both ways. But that's our strategy now, is to focus more on streaming this movie, because that way millions of people will see it as opposed to tens of thousands.
And how's funding coming along?
Well, right now it looks like we knock on wood, might have the money that we need. We'll find out in the near future. You know, we still we collect money. People donate, and a lot of people have, and we would like a lot of people to continue to donate because there's always expenses uh, associated with this. But right now, if we get the funding that we're hoping to get, um, we have identified a tier one videographer and film editor, somebody who's made mainstream movies, and but that comes with a tier one price tag. And so, if we get the funding that we're looking for, we'll have that person on board. If not, then we have to we have to adjust accordingly. We operate within our budget, but one way or the other, this film will get made.
How is your Central Park demonstration idea coming along?
Nobody cares about nuclear weapons, Cindy. Nobody
Wow.
cares. The peace movement sucks in America today. And I'll just say that again. The peace movement sucks in America today. In Columbia University right now, we have college students standing up against genocide. Where's the anti-war movement?
Mm,
Where are they? Why aren't they there standing side by side with them? Where's all the Vietnam War era people? Where are the people that stood up against Iraq? Where are the people that claim that they care about these things? Many of them are on the other side. Many of them are encouraging the cops to go in and beat up these college students. And I hate when Americans say, what the college students are wrong. You can't take over a building. That's not a protest. Read your damn history, you idiots. December 13th, 1773. A bunch of American patriots got in rowboats, took over a British ship in Boston Harbor, and threw tea into the water because they were protesting the Stamp Act. Yeah, taking things over, busting things up, thrown in the water, that's an American tradition. That's how we define American patriotism, standing up against tyranny. You can't break things if you're protesting. You idiots. That's the only way to protest is to break things because that's the only way you get change to happen. Holding hands and singing kumbaya changes nothing. Standing up to tyranny, taking over a building, breaking some windows, and saying you must change what you're doing. That's what American protests are about. And yet, all these morons are lining up on the state. We just had the anniversary of the Kent State Massacre. You know, all you
that's
people that
I fought.
encourage cops and bring out the National Guard. Well, we did that. We did that. And in May 1st, 1970, Ohio National Guardsmen opened fire on students in Kent State and killed four of them. Two of them were simply trying to get to class when bullets took their brains out. All you idiots calling for the cops to beat up these students. Hell no. The cops should be protecting these students. The cops should be creating a barrier around them so these students can protest and say what they're doing. Because there is a genocide taking place in Israel today.
Mm.
So it's worth doing this. Yeah, to stop a genocide in Israel that's backed by the United States, when the United States is complicit in this genocide, I think the students should break a couple windows. I have
Mm.
no problem with that. Hell, they should take rowboats out into the harbor, take over a ship, and throw tea into the bay. Well, we don't have that anymore, but they'll do the equivalent, which is to take over the student union, break some windows, break some chairs, make some noise, and be heard.
So between now and the time you leave, what will you be up to?
It's just a lot of work, Cindy. I got a whole bunch of
Okay.
work. I mean, I've got all these moving parts that I have to tie up and get organized. We're bringing a team in to Russia, so it's not just me going by myself or my daughter accompanying. I'm bringing in a team. So the whole team dynamic thing is has to take place. Funding, we have to get the money locked down. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. So again, anybody out there that thinks, oh, Scott says he has the funding taken care of, we don't. And if you could go to wagingpeace.fund and donate money, that at least gives us a Plan C, and maybe it can turn into a Plan B if we get enough funding. Plan A, I don't think there. It would be nice if enough people donated that we could execute Plan A, but I don't think that's going to happen because it's a big number to bring in big talent. But so we're hoping for Plan A, but you never know. Then we go to Plan B, Plan C, but Plan B and Plan C all depend upon monies we receive from kind people who donate. So it'd be nice if that could happen.
So
If you we're making a tour T-shirt, so anybody who wants the tour T-shirt of the Russia tour, we're going to be selling that on my on scottritter.com. That's our new website. We had a nice person buy it for us. Um, so scottritter.com is a thing. It's a real website right now. That's the new website, and that's where you can go to get my Substack and everything. And it's easy to remember because it's myname.com. And so, that's where people can go to help out, to read what I write, to see videos. When you give me this link, I'll put that up on that.
good. So maybe, but before you leave, maybe we could do something else if the situation arises. So, Scott, you are such a remarkable person. So thrilled to know you. Um,
Well, I'm thrilled to know you, and I'm very happy that you came out of your very difficult winter. I'm not going to share your medical information with people, but I'm going to say that Cynthia had a near death experience, and we are better for it that she came out of it. So,
Thank you. Thank you. So, Scott, we'll talk again.
okay.
You've been listening to Scott Ritter. I'm Cynthia Pooler. This is Issues That Matter. So if you like this show, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you.